Through collaboration and regional partnerships, Central Florida hosts a wide variety of tech-related industries. Join us as two Central Floridians discuss our booming technology sector, from startups to established organizations. Next on Metro Center Outlook. Hello, I'm Diane Trees. The Florida High-Tech Corridor Council is an economic development initiative whose mission is to grow high-tech industries. It represents a region spanning 23 counties and includes 3 major research universities. Our first guest today is Randy Berridge, president of the council since its inception in 1996. Randy, welcome to the show.
Diane, thank you. It's an honor to be here, part of WUCF.
What does the Florida High-Tech Corridor Council do?
Well, Diane, we are an economic development initiative of 3 great research universities. By some reports, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 9th largest in the land. That would be UCF, UF, and USF. So President John Hitt, President Kent Fox, and President Judy Genshaft are the co-chairs and my 3 bosses. Kind of neat to have 3 university presidents as your bosses. And as you noted, we've been around 20 years with a mission to help our 23-county region through partnerships, do applied research projects with companies, marketing projects with economic development organizations, workforce projects with state and community colleges and career source boards, and last but not least, entrepreneurial projects to help our universities with their incubators and to help entrepreneurs throughout our region start and grow companies.
With the tech sector, I associate that with space, with aviation, with simulation, but how do industries like agriculture and sustainable energy, how does the tech world fit into those?
Well, Diane, if you think in terms of millions of acres of citrus in Florida and other southern states, as well as South America, and you think in terms of losing that industry to citrus greening, then the research at mainly UF, and we have funded some of those projects to try to eliminate citrus greening. It is a situation where an entire industry is at risk through that infestation on citrus trees, and once infected, in just a couple of years, the tree is dead. So it's not just our corridor, but the entire state, and in many ways, the entire southeast U.S. affected by that. So research in that area that we would help fund is certainly important.
Now, your website, you list 10 key tech industries for Central Florida. Tell me about the top 3 rankings and why they make that ranking.
Well, to your viewers, they're all important, if I may. But perhaps now, modeling, simulation, and training, along with digital media, would fall near or at the top of the list. Aerospace, with what's happened in Brevard County, both of negative and now of a positive nature. And then I would add bio, life sciences, medical. And if you would permit me a 4th one, I would add sensor device manufacturing. You
mentioned the sensors. That facility, the smart sensor facility in Osceola County, you've described that as a landmark project. That's very impressive words coming from you. What's the game changer here?
Diane, we've known each other for at least 25 years.
Yes.
You haven't changed, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I've had the honor to be part of the Economic Development Initiative in this region since the early 80s, first with AT&T and now for 20 years, as you were kind to point out, with the corridor. Diane, I have not seen in those years since 1983, I've not seen one county put up $138 million. 40 of that, 40 million in land and improvements to the land, and part of the building process, but the rest of it in cash, to wage its future on an industry that, by all reports, will be bigger than Sematech and more meaningful than Sematech was to Austin, Texas. It is the manufacture of sensor devices You have them everywhere. You've got 8 or 9 in your cell phone, for instance, right now. But the research into where that is going as an industry is crucial to not just our state, not just our country, but the world. And then think about in terms of the Center for Research in Sensor Devices and how to manufacture them will be right here in the central part of the great state of Florida.
That's very exciting as the corridor
really
develops more and more. With the corridor, and you mentioned this, the 3 research universities, how do you balance the funding, the proposals, the vast area that you're really trying to coordinate? How does that all come together?
May I use a metaphor?
Surely.
We have partnered together, the 3 universities, on some research projects. Most have been individual companies with the 3 universities using our corridor funds on a matching basis to fund the applied research project. But if I can use ICOMAR, the International Consortium for Advanced Manufacturing Research, the Osceola project we just spoke about, as an example, that UCF has put up significant dollars for that project in addition to what Osceola County has put up. Our corridor has put up $1 million a year for 6 years for that one project via our matching grants research program. So you think of it as a UCF project, but to your point, the question you ask, USF has put up significant funds, as has the University of Florida. In fact, FIU, Mark Rosenberg, president of Florida International University, they have also put in significant funds because they all understand that perhaps the future of a major industry in our state, by some forecast, 80,000 high-tech jobs. Okay, I saw your eyebrows. It's
That's
larger
huge,
than awesome
right.
In terms of what Sematech did for Austin. That's significant, and there's a great example where the universities have partnered. So if your time permitted here, I could share a number of examples where our 3 universities have come together to make a difference.
Well, and I think probably with you as president, you know the atmosphere and that around. You can probably help facilitate that a great deal.
For sure.
What kind of opportunities are available to the students at these universities that help them get involved in tech industries?
Again, our matching grants research program, proud to say, if you think in terms of 20 years, partnering with 400 companies on some 1,400 applied research projects with those companies. But the key I would submit, it's not the 18-to-1 return on state money on these projects that we've demonstrated, over $1 billion to the state of Florida. It's the fact that 2,800 starving graduate and doctoral students have had a chance to work these projects. And if I may, several years ago, a co-ed came up to me and said, Mr. Berridge, I guess because I'm a little older than she was, she goes, Mr. Berridge, this is really a retention program, to your question, to your point. And I said, yes, go to the head of class. You figured it out. Our state and you, your parents, your loans, however you fund your education, there's a lot invested. And so we ought to be doing everything that we can as an organization, as a region, as a state, to figure out how to keep you here. And this program is certainly one of those.
Well, that was one of my questions to you, was how the corridor works to keep that talent pool here. So it's do you have internships and that you can promote to the students?
We do. In fact, one of the things that we do with our council, it's an advisory council, Florida High-Tech Corridor Council, is share with them from the various colleges, not only at UCF, USF, and UF, of these internships, these interns that are, these students who are ready to do internships. And I'd like to point out an example, if I could. Dr. Paul Sandberg, VP of Research at USF, the counterpart to Dr. M.J. Swallow. Paul's wife, Cindy, 2 Y's, interesting spelling, heads up interns for the College of Business, and I believe there's also a connection to the College of Engineering at USF. We have that example as well at UCF and UF. So the fact that our corridor can help with that and help make those connections to our council companies as well as others is a great example where, again, as you note the comment made by the student, this is a retention program.
Right.
So internships are certainly that.
Certainly key. Are you seeing any trends in the tech growth here in Central Florida?
Well, certainly, again, one county putting up $138 million, so compliments to the county commission, to the leaders, and Don Fisher, county manager, and Bill Martin, economic development director there. That would certainly be a trendsetter on a world stage in terms of sensor device. But also the things that have happened at Medical City with UCF for sure, the medical college, the research facility that is there for UCF, but as well a research facility for UF. So trends in terms of medical life sciences happening in Medical City. What's happening in terms of the expansions and all in terms of Orlando Health or Florida Hospital. Major development along I-4 happening the same time we're widening and whatnot, improving I-4. You have major construction going on for Florida Hospital right near Princeton and I-4.
Randy, with your 20 years of experience now as president of the Corridor Council, what has surprised you the most with the tech growth that you've seen across Central Florida? And you've seen it from the very beginning.
I would say the rapid recovery in terms of the loss of the shuttle, in terms of that phase shutting down, that technology going away, and the leadership of Linda Weatherman, economic development, Space Coast, as well as Lisa Rice, head of CareerSource Brevard, and that community coming together. And for sure, some great entrepreneurs with the idea that we can launch payloads and humans into space for less expensive than have been in the past. Seeing those things happen and the rapid time frame that it's happening in, that would be the first thing that comes to mind.
Great. Thank you, Randy, so much. Good to see you again.
Same here.
When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with a look at the increasing role of women in tech industries. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Our next guest is Leslie Hillema, Vice President of the Orlando Center of the Florida Institute of Technology. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for having me.
What prompted FIT to launch a women's business center named WeVenture?
We opened one in Melbourne about approximately 8 years ago through the assistance of a SBA grant, Small Business Administration. And it's become very successful. It's been sustainable and helping women grow companies. And with my experience here in the Orlando community, my previous position as the president of the Orlando Regional Chamber, I had an opportunity to kind of see what the community needed, what were some of the opportunities, and then proposed that we open one here in Orlando, and about that time the SBA came out with another grant for women's business centers in select states, and we applied for the grant and received that, and then opened that center here in Orlando.
Perfect timing for you.
Absolutely.
So the planning and what were some of the challenges that you faced to make that happen right here?
You know, I think when you bring a community asset, you really need to make sure, I kind of apply to entrepreneurial principles, so you need to make sure that the market wants this. And you have to ensure that that there's a shared values that it's based on in the community. You don't want to just put something out there and the community doesn't really need it. And we do have a lot of wonderful entrepreneurial resources in our community. So as a matter of I use this process of kind of intense, immersive, and objective listening to the community to see what kind of shared values there are around a particular asset that we need. And it's through this process that we said, we need this kind of business center focused on this. And we opened the other center. And then once we got a network of centers, we decided to rebrand and selected WeVenture.
Well, now you chose Canvas for your location downtown. What prompted that part of it?
The dynamism of that entrepreneurial environment, just kind of with there's a lot of resources there with Canvas and a lot of other things going on. And it just felt like a dynamic place to be just around that spirit of entrepreneurship.
What's unique about the center, Leslie?
As I mentioned, we have some really good entrepreneurial resources in our community, and when you look at the national data, the local data, there's opportunities for women in entrepreneurship. There's some, especially in areas of high growth businesses, accessing capital, government contracts. So we felt there were some economic development measures we could tackle and address related to women entrepreneurship. So we created this center. It's an economic development initiative, but based on the shared values that we saw in our community, it's really a mission-based organization, and we kind of built a credo. Using the women in the community, we built this credo that starts with, we are entrepreneurial warriors, and there's various components to it. So, it's more than a center, it's more of a movement. It's a hub of intelligence on what's happening with women and entrepreneurship and leadership. So it's really just a beautiful community asset for us to make it what we want.
There have been studies that indicate that women are vastly underrepresented in tech jobs. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, they are, and especially in certain fields. But it's interesting because we have asked that question a lot. Why are there so few women in technology, and specifically in technology entrepreneurship? And so based on our experience, I have a lot of friends that are running technology companies. So I did do a study. We called it Renegades and Rebels, Women in Tech in Central Florida, to really investigate why so few women. But it really was, the question is, no, there's a lot of women. Within a couple of months, I identified over 100 women founders of technology companies. And then I said, well, the question isn't why so few. The question is, who are they? What are they? And how do we tell the story better of what they're doing? And so through this study, I was able to measure their economic impact, their employee impact, and get some insights into their pathway to growing their company, what it meant or means to be a woman in technology. It's a very different picture than we think, and what we as a community need to do to continue to nurture and grow these companies.
Will you be publishing your results? That would be very interesting.
Yes. We presented them in November, but they'll be up on the weventure.org website. We also videoed all of our interviews. So we'll also have a kind of a beautiful video vignette that will really show what a woman in technology looks like.
What type of entrepreneurs are you seeing attracted then into WeVenture? Is it following what you found in your study?
Well, what's interesting is that we are getting in women from 25 to 65, and so it's not that the student population we typically see in a startup community. Right. We're seeing women of all backgrounds, educational backgrounds, experience levels, and what's interesting is we have a lot of women coming in, and they're coming in with significant experience in a particular field of which they're starting their company. So they're coming in with understanding of the market, understanding of the products and services, understanding of channels, and what opportunities there are. So, and then they also understand all the components that are necessary to build a scalable, sustainable company. And they already have a little bit of traction, a little bit of sales. So we are looking for companies that can really get into that stage 2, stage 3 kind of company and propel them to success.
I'm surprised. I would have thought that a lot of the women coming in were more of the younger, more the millennial, and you're saying it's a wide age.
Absolutely. Wide age, yeah. And I think, I think that our path, women's paths, career paths are very circuitous and multidimensional. We'll go this path for a while, we may take another path. And so, we're finding everybody's coming in at various stages of life, of experience. When you get an idea, you're ready to launch a business and start something, create something, it's across that whole spectrum.
Well, you mentioned, we were talking before about women being talented in not just for the business aspect, the technical side, but there's an artistic side as well. Mm-hmm. Do you think women change careers more or are drawn to more one side than the other?
What I found in our study of women in technology is they brought all of it to their companies. So, you'll see this, a beautiful office and a beautiful space, and you'll see women creating kind of very innovative business models. They're creating cultures that really matter to women, that suit the lives and the growth and the values. They're creating products and services that are amazing, and so one woman, Asia Hall, who has a company, she's a wearable technology company. She has her background in computer science. She was also a fashion model, but she's creating these beautiful wearable technology products. So she's combining them both, and she's a linguistic, but she felt computer science felt very similar to her passion for speaking different languages, and then she brought in the fashion end, and so she brought it all together, and we see women bringing all sides together and creating these very lovely, holistic, organic kinds of companies.
What about Central Florida? It seems to be gaining a favorable reputation for women to have growth opportunities for high tech.
Yeah.
Do you think that's so, and why?
I just think it's it's amazing community. We have women from all over. There is there is a sense that if you do better, we all do better. I think the women I know in this community say rising tide lifts all boats. I want to do something that benefits all of us. So we're just seeing that what we're seeing at We Ventures, when these women come together, they serve as advocates, as cheerleaders. When they need to make a referral, it happens quickly. Things move fast. I just think it's a powerful, positive community for women.
It's a good community effort then.
Yeah.
In the current market, are there certain tech sectors, though, that do offer more opportunities for women?
I think the tech sectors that we have identified through our economic development work are where women tend to be excelling, especially modeling and simulation, computer software, advanced manufacturing. So I think where we have those clusters tend to be where the women are doing best.
Do you think that women face certain challenges in tech professions, perhaps with gender related?
We did 90% of the women we interviewed had a negative kind of gender bias experience. But I don't, these women are strong, they're determined, they're dedicated. I just think right now, just the lack of, I see that women in their first year of work typically have a hard time because there are just so few women. And I think the network for women when they're starting their companies is a little bit sparse, and they need to work on that. But I think it's just a matter of time before we get more women in those fields, and it just becomes more natural to see more women speaking, more women winning the kind of awards that we have available.
And that makes sense with your We Venture,
Yeah.
the camaraderie and placement of people together
Yeah.
that can share the resources and thoughts and ideas.
Exactly, and I think that one of the things we've done with the studies, since we have identified 100 female founders of tech companies, now that we know who they are, there wasn't a one place where we had them. Now we can begin, communicating, gathering, understanding what their needs are, putting them on panels, making sure they're applying for the award programs, making sure they're, represented and their story is told, because we had a 40% response rate, and the companies, we added up the revenue, taking out some of the big outliers, but these companies contribute over $150 million in revenue, employed over 1,000 employees. 100% of the women are involved in a civic, professional or social organization. I mean, these are impactful groups,
Right.
Of women.
What about advice? If you had to give advice to a woman who's just starting out in the tech profession, what would it be?
You know what? I would say, work hard to find that like-minded tribe, that group. It can be lonely your first year on the job or as you're building your company. But if you can just find those like-minded individuals right away, cultivate those kind of cheerleaders, those advocates, those ones that can kind of get you to the places and referrals. Just cultivate that group, because you're going to need that support system. Because I think I hear a lot, it's isolating, it's lonely enough to be an entrepreneur, but when when there's not other women maybe in that sector, just building your little network of support system right away and just nurturing that is really critical.
Thank you, Leslie,
Thank
so
you
much.
so much, Diane.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you for joining us on Metro Center Outlook. Until next time, I'm Diane Trees.